All right. So if someone's a cook, then they work in the kitchen, is P then Q. We've got a cook, and they work in the kitchen, that's Q. Mary is a cook, so that's P. She works in the kitchen, that's Q. So it always starts P to Q. Then I've got P period, Q period. I kept the order, so this is detachment. I just separated those two pieces, and it is 100% valid. Getting so much better on those. Okay, the one on the homework last night didn't look quite as good, so we'll definitely talk about that one. If a polygon has 4 sides, so that's the P, then the polygon is a quadrilateral, that is Q. This is going to be one of our future lessons. The converse is just going to change the order. If you wanted to write QP, you could do that. That's not a P. There we go. Is the converse true or false? This is in fact true. This is the definition of a quadrilateral. All quadrilaterals have 4 sides, and all 4-sided shapes can be called quadrilaterals. So then the biconditional is going to be your hypothesis. The polygon has 4 sides if and only if it is a quadrilateral, right? That if and only if statement has to come in the middle. That's the key for biconditionals. Okay, they're usually definitions, and the if and only if comes in the middle. You can read it forwards and backwards. Bless you. This one, fantastic. I don't even really want to talk about it too much. If I'm going from A to C, most of the problem comes from students not going from A to C through the diagonal, right? I'm going through the diagonal, so my point should be somewhere right here. I always try to predict it if I already have a graph. And then midpoint is just going to be x plus x divided by 2, so that's 6, and y plus y divided by 2, so that's 5 halves. That's an ordered pair, and that kind of makes sense if I go plot what I estimated, 6, 5 halves, right? Question number 4, I saw so many people doing Pythagorean Theorem, it makes me so happy. If I'm going from C to D, right, and I know I want length, that's distance, so I go up 3, right 4, that's 3 and then 4, so a squared plus b squared equals c squared, because this is a right angle. So 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. That's 9 plus 16 is 25. If 25 equals c squared, then I take the square root of both sides, and c equals 5. Notice that that hypotenuse, that diagonal, is the longest side. The side opposite that right angle is always going to be the longest side. Okay. Questions on that one? I saw a couple of people also use distance formula, x minus x squared plus y minus y squared. You're going to get these same numbers. You're going to get 3 and 4, because 4 minus 1 is 3, and 12 minus 8 is 4. Yeah. Then we come over here when we're reflecting over y equals negative x, right? If you're not sure what that line is, put it into Desmos and get a visual. The diagonal is going to go this way. It's a negative sloping line. So everything's going to flip over. So we're going to end up with A over here, and B is going to be someplace over here. C and D are also going to be in this third quadrant, or yeah, the third quadrant down here, right? It's going to be off my page, so I can't really sketch it very well, but it's going to look something like that when it reflects over if I fold it like a taco. So I know that these points have to be negative, negative. That kind of helps me predict if I can't remember the rule. You're going to switch them, do negative 1, 0, negative 4, negative 4, negative 4, negative 12, and then negative 1, negative 8. If you plot your points and you forget to turn them both negative, they're going to end up in the wrong quadrant. Okay, and you're going to know you haven't done something right. So I encourage you, especially on a test like the one that's coming up, if you get a question like this, please, please, please use your Desmos resource. Okay? Questions? All right, last one. If a number is divisible by 3, then it is divisible by 6. I want to keep the hypothesis. So whatever answer here has to be divisible by 3. So 9 is divisible by 3, 18 is divisible by 3, and 36 is divisible by 3. Just means they can be divided by 3 and you're left with a whole number. But I want this one to not be true. So I'm going to keep the hypothesis and change the conclusion. That's how you test these counterexamples. So 9 is not divisible by 6. So I like that answer. 18 is divisible by 6. So I got to cross that off. 36 is divisible by 6. So I got to cross that off. 9 is my best answer. Questions on that? All right. Let's close that out. Go into Schoology for me, if you're not there already, and go to yesterday's lesson. I want to talk about question 2 on the quiz. Overall, the quiz looked fantastic. Not a complaint. So today's the 25th. We're going to go to the 24th. I just want to look at number 2. So if you haven't finished the quiz, or even if you have, see if you can go look at number 2. Number 2 is kind of a lesson that we need to learn for the test as well, because a lot of people got a right answer. They just didn't get the right answer. And hopefully that makes sense as soon as my computer will load. All right. Everybody got the quiz open? Hopefully yours loaded faster than mine. Let's see what else I can close in my life. Question number 2. Most people who got this one wrong got x equals 5. X does equal 5. If you set these all equal to 180 and you add it up, x does. Why is that not the right answer? It asks what the smallest angle is. So this is what I mean when I say you can do all of the correct work and get a correct answer, just not get the correct answer. So what is the correct answer? How do I find what the smallest angle is? If I know x equals 5, what do I need to do? Dun, dun, dun. I got to substitute. Yeah, so if I put the 5 in here, we get 45 degrees. Okay. All right. Then let's take a break from that. Make sure the lesson here is make sure you're answering the right question. Okay. Make sure you're answering the right question. There are 3 questions on the homework that I wanted to go over, but if there are other questions that you have concerns about, I'm happy to talk about those before we start our lesson for today. So if you leave the quiz and go to the homework, this computer is testing my patience. It's questions 3, 4, and 5 that I want to look at on the homework. So if you haven't done the homework, and actually if you just haven't gotten a perfect score on the homework, you should come look at these, because even if you submitted 2 attempts, I unsubmitted it so that you would have, so you'd be able to look at it. So everybody go to the homework. It will populate eventually. Question 1 on the quiz. Chloe, can I send you a message on that? Since it's taking so long to load. All right, on the homework, we did great on the angle puzzle. Find that linear pair, use triangle sum, lots of good ways to do that, right? Solve this one beautifully. Question 3. You got to diagram these guys. So use your highlighting tool if you have one. Sometimes they're... If Brad does not add hot sauce to the tacos, this is P, even though it's got a knot in it, they will not be spicy. That's the Q. If the tacos are not spicy, that's the same thing. So that's Q. So I've got P to Q at the beginning, and then I've got Q. Then Brad's father did not eat them. That's a new thing. Brad's father did not eat them. That's R, right? I've got not add hot sauce, not be spicy repeats, and then does not eat them. So the Q's are going to cross out, the P comes down, and the R comes down, or if they're being really fancy, you can turn that around and negate it because you can always do the contrapositive. So eliminate the stuff that's the same, and then everything comes down just like you're solving an equation. So I'm going to predict my answers before I go look at them. If Brad does not add hot sauce, needs to be at the beginning. If Brad does, there's no knot in this one, so it can't be right. If Brad's father eats the tacos, that could be R. He does not eat them, so this is not R. If Brad's father does not eat the tacos, that's the R. I can't start with an R. If Brad does not add hot sauce to the tacos, if Brad does not add hot sauce to the tacos, so that's P. His father will not eat them. His father will not eat them. That's R. So I like this one. And this is not R. Brad adds hot sauce to them. He does not. This is not P. So guys, there were 2 answers. This is the contrapositive, and this is straight syllogism. Hey, Jada. This one was complicated. You want to choose B and D. Okay. Question number 4 is just kind of a nightmare of a question. If this was on a test, I would skip this and save it for last. It is a time-sucking question. You've got to plot all of these points. So -2, +3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then -4, 10. -4, 10. Then you got to look at that triangle. If I'm trying to classify it by its sides, I need to know how long all of these sides are. You've got to do distance formula 3 times. It's kind of a pain in the neck, okay? So distance formula 3 times. If I do this, this is down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and right 2. And then I come over here, and I make a slope triangle, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and up 2. If I use Pythagorean Theorem here, 7 squared plus 2 squared equals c squared, and 7 squared plus 2 squared equals c squared, is that going to be the same equation? Same equation? Quinlan, you all right? Okay. Guys, if this is the same equation, then the c is going to be the same. This is going to be isosceles. Now you just have to decide whether it's isosceles right or isosceles acute. This angle right here is going to be right because this is going to be -7/2, and it's going to be +2/7. Those are perpendicular because the slopes are the upside down reciprocal. Okay? It's a lot. You got to think about, how do I know if it's a right angle or an acute angle? You know it's right because they're perpendicular. You know the slopes are perpendicular if they're the negative reciprocal. You know it's isosceles if they've got the same length, right? This is why we learn slope and distance. So we can decide whether things are perpendicular or not and how long they are. The problem with number 5 is the same thing as number 4, kind of. So if I want a perpendicular slope, most people will do y minus y over x minus x. So 20 minus 5 equals 5 minus 20. So I've got 15 over negative 15, right? This is a negative slope. That makes sense. So the slope's -1. Why is that not the right answer? What's it asking for? Yeah, it's asking for a perpendicular slope. So if I want to turn this perpendicular, I've got to do the upside down reciprocal. So instead of -1 over 1, I've got 1 over 1, which is just 1. Okay. Any other questions on the homework that you want to talk about? Those were the 3 that looked kind of low. Everything else was like in the 90s and the 100s. You guys did great. Yeah. Yep. In ABC, AC equals CB. So we're going to draw a triangle, and it's going to be our side, because 2 sides equal. You've got that letter C that's in both of them. That means C is where those 2 equal sides come together, A and B. So if AC equals CB, then angle A equals angle B. So the measure of angle A is this expression, and the measure of angle B is this expression. So you're going to set those equal to each other. Another way to do that is because you know you're talking about angles. You've got the measure of angle A, measure of angle B, measure of angle C. You can add all of those up and set them equal to 180. So there's 2 choices. You can either do 3x plus 18 equals 7x minus 58, or you can do 3x plus 18 plus 7x minus 58 plus 2x minus 8, add all of those up and set them equal to 180. So either the base angles equal each other, or the 3 angles all together equal 180. Does that answer the question? So then you just solve and substitute. It's kind of a lot of algebra work, but once you get them set up, it's easy. Yep. So angle A equals angle B. Angle A equals angle B. And you know that because they're the not repeated up here. This one looked great. This one looked fantastic, making parallel lines. We're reflecting here. Perfect. If we're reflecting over y equals x, this is kind of like the one we just did with the y equals -x, except this one, y equals x. And again, if you're not sure, you can type y equals x into Desmos, and it will show you this line, right? So if I plot these 1, 8, 1, 8, and 5, 7, I'm just kind of sketching, and 2, 3, 2, 3, and I reflect them down here, most of them are going to still end up, in fact, all of them are going to still end up in this first quadrant. All I'm going to do is switch the x and the y. So you just switch the x and the y. Instead of 1, 8, it's 8, 1. Instead of 5, 7, it's 7, 5. And kind of the line tells you to do that. If y equals x and x equals y, because I can read it front ways and back ways, then I should just be able to flip these points over. Does that help? If your line is y equals x, you just switch them like the converse. If y equals -x, you switch and negate. Okay? Any other questions? All right, let's leave that then. So which side is, which corner is smallest? Now I can't even see it. I don't think I can move this one. So if I've got W and V, oh my God. Let's skip that slide since we can't even see it. Okay, do that. Let me do this. Exit out of that and look at it this way. Can you guys write on this? But you cannot write on that one. Okay. Coding is only as good as the teacher puts it in, right? I think it's just that one slide. I think you'll be able to write on the next one. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. I'm going to get my life together, I promise. All right. So now that we can see, I've got a side that's 7. So if I'm going from greatest to least, does the 7 go in the first line or the last line? What's opposite the 7? So U is going to be the smallest, right? And then the medium is the 11. So that's opposite the W. So the W will go here. And then the largest side is the 13, so the V is biggest. You got to make sure you're reading, right? So the greatest goes first and the least goes last. So 7 is opposite the U, that's the smallest. V is opposite the 13, that's biggest. So I've got to put them in order that way, right? Over here on the sides, we're going to do the exact same thing. Let me see if I can tempt fate and zoom in a little bit. So if I've got Z and X, what's missing over here? I'm missing this corner. So guys, don't try to order sides and angles unless you've got 3 angles. How can I find that missing angle? I can do what we've been practicing. So 180 minus 75 minus 50 is going to be 65, question mark. Can somebody check my math there? $180 minus 75 minus 50. Sweet. So now which side is my smallest side? Because I'm looking for the smallest first. I take that 50 and I come over here. ZX is the side, or XZ, right? And then I go to my medium, which is at 65, and I go across to the other side of the triangle. So if X is the medium angle, 65 is between 50 and 75, then ZY, or YZ, is the medium. It'd be fun to see how long a delay that is. There we go. And then our last one, 75 is our biggest angle. So opposite the 75 is XY, and XY is our longest side. Okay. So you gotta have all 3. 5? I don't know. 180 minus 50. 180 minus 50 minus 75. It is 55. Thanks, Kylie. 55. Yep, you are 100% correct. So luckily that's still, actually that's the medium angle now, right? So, oh no, it's still the medium angle. Yep, we're still good. So if we go to the next slide, I'm going to zoom back out. You should be able to write on it. This is insane today. Order the angles least to greatest. So everybody put a letter in the chat. What is the smallest angle? What is the smallest angle? Ready? 3, 2, 1, smallest angle. Everybody put it in the chat. R, nobody wants to put it in the chat. Okay, I gotcha. Did you? Oh, now it's populating. I think it's just my computer is slow. I'm sorry if that came across as judgy. I didn't mean it to be judgy. I'm just frustrated with this stupid computer. And what's the medium angle? G, excellent. And the large angle? B. Okay. Let's see if it gets any harder. What about here? What do I do here? Talk me through it. Or do it yourself. So everybody should be on slide 5. What's my first step? Right? So I do 180 minus those numbers and I get what? I do 180 minus those numbers so I know what C is, because I can't do anything until I do that. 37. Thank you, Samuel. C equals 37, and I'm going least to greatest. What letter do I put first? Remember, I'm doing sides. C is the smallest angle, so what side is opposite that smallest angle? It doesn't matter which one you do it, BA or AB, either way. I'm glad you asked the question. And then what about the medium? AC. And we can do AC or CA. It doesn't really matter. It could go either way, which leaves the last one to be BC or CB. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. If you have 3 angles or 3 sides, you should be able to use this method. So let's do 2 more problems. We'll do them really fast. All 3 of these things are pretty easy. Some people will not have to draw the triangle, but I encourage you to draw the triangle. So again, you just draw a random triangle. It doesn't have to be to scale. G, H, and J. If GH is 21 and HJ is 24 and GJ is 9, and I want to order the angles from greatest to least, what's my greatest angle? (24) is my biggest side. What angle is opposite it? G. And notice that the G is not labeled in the side. So if I have side HJ, the angle opposite it is going to be the letter that's missing from the 3. So G is the biggest. And then if 21 is the medium, what's opposite the 21? What letter is missing from G and H? J, absolutely. So J is the medium. I strongly encourage you to draw these out, but if you can remember this little trick, GJ, the H is missing, so that's going to be the smallest. Okay. Notice that in a scalene triangle, when I put congruent marks in there, I'm doing 1 and then 2 and then 3. They're not, if you put the same number of tick marks, then it's going to mean that they're congruent, and these are not congruent. All right, one more, and then we're going to practice another thing. Guys, this one, if you haven't been paying attention now, and you've been thinking, this is crazy easy, Miss Doherty, this is the way it's tested. Okay? And I can't even tell you how many students miss this like 3 and 4 times before they finally like relinquish themselves to drawing the picture and labeling it correctly. You've got to read carefully. Okay? This is my warning, my little public service announcement. Part of a marching band formed a triangle, and they had trumpet players on one side, clarinet players on one side, and flute players on a third side. So imagine yourself up in the stands looking down on a band marching around the field. Okay? We're our cheerleaders doing a formation. Our cheerleaders are going to a big competition this weekend, right? So we're going to make a triangle. And on the sides, we've got trumpet players. We've got clarinet players. And we've got flute players. Up until now, we've labeled corners with letters. We're labeling sides here. You've got to read the question super carefully, okay? The angle formed, so now I'm talking about angles, the angle formed by the trumpets and the flutes, so the point where the trumpets and flutes come together is 45 degrees. This has a degree symbol. It's got to go in a corner. I know it sounds like I'm being like crazy, but people make these mistakes over and over again. The corner where the trumpets and the flutes and the clarinets come together, so flutes and clarinets come together in this corner, is 68 degrees. Again, these are degrees. They have to go in corners. Okay. How do I find this missing corner? Everybody should be able to do it. Take 30 seconds, pull out a calculator, whatever calculator you have in hand. Do the subtraction and addition that you know you need to do. And what's the corner where the trumpets and the clarinets come together? 23, 67? Which one? 23, 67? 67, okay. If you get one answer, double check it. Make sure you've got a good one. So now if I order the sides from least to greatest, so again, reading is important here. It's one of my least favorite activities, if I'm being honest, but it is a must. Least to greatest, what is my smallest side? What has the fewest band members, or the ones that are squished closest together? The clarinets, absolutely. Clarinets, that's the smallest. What's the medium? Flutes. And then the largest? The ones that are left over. Okay. Please, 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 when you get word problems like this, be careful and look for the word sides and angles. I promise you I'm not being crazy. Lots of people are going to miss this question when they see it on tonight's homework. All right. So to sum up, this is how we do if we've got 3 angles or 3 sides and we're just trying to put them in order, smallest to greatest or greatest to least, right? The second topic for today is it a triangle? Is it a triangle? You still need 3 corners, but we're going to do small plus medium is bigger than large. If you go back to that same Desmo, and you can click on Miss Kimbrough over here to verify that, but if you go back to that same Desmo, you'll see that the small side plus the medium side is always bigger than the largest side. So just chant to yourself, small plus medium is bigger than large. Small plus medium is bigger than large. Go to slide 9. And I want you to tell me which ones, and if you're on Pear Deck, you can just like put a check or an X on these, which combinations work and which ones do not. Which ones work and which ones do not. I think it's 3 and 3. But take a minute and do small plus medium is bigger than large. Notice that it's bigger, cannot equal. And they're not always in the right order. They cannot equal. It has to be bigger. Has to be bigger. So if you're in the Google Slides, you can drag them. If you're in the Pear Deck, you won't be able to move them. Just put a check or an X. Oh, there's no writing on it? Then just do it on a side sheet of paper. I'm sorry, guys. Sometimes I outsmart myself. You can also click on the teacher, maybe, is it linked? Miss Kimbrough, you're not linked anymore. Hyperlinks are great until they don't work. So if you go back to slide 1, you can get this Desmo and test it out. Maybe. So if I've got 3, 6, and 9, it's hard to make it exactly 9, but you'll get the idea. And I come down here and I make it totally flat. 3 plus 6 equals 9. That's going to be a flat triangle. 3 plus 6 equals 9. So if they equal, like in the first one, it's going to be a straight line. There's not going to be any elevation in our triangle, right? So if I come back here, 3 plus 6, this is going to equal 9, so this one's not going to work. They cannot equal, right? What about 10, 7, and 11? Does that work? Yes or no? Yes, it does work. 7 plus 10 is bigger than 11, right? 6 plus 6 is bigger than 11, so that one works. Oh, Mason got kicked out. 5 plus 8, is that bigger than 11? Yes. And then 8 plus 9 is bigger than 17. Does that work? 8 plus 9 is bigger than 17. They equal. So this is going to be flat. 8 plus 9 equals 17, so there's not going to be any elevation in your triangle. It's that, like the difference between them that gives you the elevation. So then 6 plus 12 is bigger than 19 or is not bigger than 19? Definitely not. Correct. Okay. So small plus medium is bigger than large. That's the question. Is it a triangle? Small plus medium is bigger than large. So let's see what that's going to look like when you go to your test tomorrow. Slide 10. Come on, slide 10. Okay, ready? 13, 12, and 25. Yes or no? $13 plus 15. No, why not? Because it equals. What about 8, 12, and 7? Yes, why? Absolutely. 15 is greater than 12. What about 9, 4, and 4? Why no? Awesome. A lot of people fall into the trap, and you guys don't seem to be doing that, of just adding the first two numbers. Make sure you're really looking for small, medium, and large, okay? They're not always going to be in the same order. So let's look at slide 11. I don't know that we need to do these because I think you guys have got this, right? Do we need more practice with slide 11 or slide 12? I think you guys are good. Okay. What if I give you the same side over here? Still going to do the same thing. So if I give you 5 answer choices, 6 answer choices, and one side that's the same, you're just going to do small plus medium is bigger than large, small plus medium is bigger than large. And this could be the small, the medium, or the large. So you got to kind of figure that out. Looks a little bit differently. Thank you. Let's look at slide 13, because 13 is kind of where the rubber meets the road a little bit. This is our third kind of thing, okay? Given two sides, find the third side. So this is the range. If you click on that Desmo, and you should be able to click on it, hopefully. I don't know what happened to these links. Makes me crazy. There we go. If you make a really acute triangle, that's when you're subtracting the two sides that you're given. If you make a really obtuse triangle, that's where you're adding the two sides that are given. So this is a visual to make this rule make sense, if it will ever load. Okay, so if I've got 3 and 11, we just learned that 3 plus 11 has to be bigger than 12.69, right? Or 9.6. If I make a really acute triangle here, right? If I subtract these two sides, the range of the third side is this distance here. So 11 minus 3 is 8. That's the smallest this could possibly be. And it actually can't equal 8 because then it's going to be flat, right? So if I have 3 and 11, I'm going to subtract them to get this smaller number. I'm not giving you this number. It can be anything bigger than 8, right? If I try to keep that as a 3, and 3 plus 11 is 14. My triangle is going to be flat again on the other side when it's 14. So anywhere between 8 and 14, this third side will make a triangle. That's kind of what we're asking here, okay? So you're going to add and subtract. Subtract them to get the smallest possible number and add them to get the biggest possible number. So if we go to slide 14, that's all we're going to do. If I give you 3 and 11, you subtract 11 and 3 and you get 8, and you add 11 and 3 and you get 14. Okay? So if we do number 1, if I give you a side of 9 and a side of 7, if I've got 9 and 7 and I close the triangle, what's the difference between 9 and 7? 9 minus 7 is 2. So it's got to be between 2 and, if I open it up, 9 plus 7 is 9 plus 7, 16. Okay, so if you think about these two things on a hinge, maybe it's 2 pens, 2 arms, 2 pieces of wood, 2 whatever things, they're connected on a hinge. If you close that hinge, you're going to subtract. 6 and 12, the difference between 6 and 12, 12 minus 6 is 6. That is always going to be less than x and less. And then if I open that hinge, 6 plus 12, that's going to be 18. Okay. It's been a lot today. Let's look at slide 15. I want you to try it here. Mine will overload. John is enclosing a triangular pen with wire fencing. Two sides of the pen measure 14 and 8. Okay, so if I have 14 and 8, I've got a 14. If they're on a hinge and I make the 8 go in the same direction and I make a little tiny pen, what's the smallest number it could be to close that triangle? 14 minus 8 is 6, right? Then if I make it the biggest pen it could be, and I make it an obtuse triangle, and I go this way, then I've got to close in more distance. 8 plus 14 is 22. Okay? Notice that these don't have equal signs under the inequality. So I'm going to go everywhere between 6 and 22. That means it could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 9, it could be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and all of those little things in between. It cannot actually equal 22, and it cannot actually equal 6, because that'll make a flat triangle. Okay? So some of the questions are going to ask you which of these are options. You can't choose 6 and you can't choose 22. Don't choose your endpoints. Is everything in the middle, not including them. Okay? A lot of problems come in with that kind of question. So let's look at another word problem that it could look like. Slide 16. Noah and Ben commit a crime. Noah travels 84 miles in one direction and Ben travels 63 miles in another direction. So these guys could run together in the same direction, right? If they run together in the same direction, how far apart would they be? If Noah goes 84 miles and Ben goes 63, how far apart would they be if they went in the same direction? What would you do with the 84 and the 63? Subtract them. So what's 84 minus 63? 21, absolutely. And then if they go in completely opposite directions, how far apart will they be? 147. So we want everything in the middle. They're not going to be 21 miles apart. They're not going to be 147 miles apart, but they're going to be somewhere in the middle. So police officer 3 is correct. It's drawn in a picture as a stagnant triangle. Remember that this angle right here is a hinge. They could be going in the same direction, they could be going in opposite directions, or they could be going anywhere in the middle. Okay? I think slide 17 is the last slide, and I'm going to have you start on your test reviews for the last 10 minutes of class. Based on the measurements below in triangle ABC, AB must be what? So let's reason this out. If you're given this question, what would you do first? It's probably the toughest question you would get, even though it looks kind of simple at first. What would be your first step? Yeah, do 180 minus the numbers. First step, always find that third angle. So if I do that, 180 minus the numbers, 180 minus 47 minus 68, right? I get 65. If I got that wrong, please let me know. So how does that help me? Absolutely. So 65 is my medium angle. So this has got to be my medium side. 47 is the smallest angle. So 7 has to be my smallest side. And then 68 is the biggest angle. So that has to be the largest side. So we're talking about AB. The question is, what do I know about AB? Then what? Absolutely. So if we know this is a medium side, we know that it has to be greater than 7, but less than 10. Oh wait, I did my thing backwards. Greater than 7. X is greater than 7 and X is less than 10. It's got to be between 7 and 10. This one kind of makes you think about all of those things. You need to find out that third angle. You need to decide which one's small, medium, and large. Okay? I have done a lot of talking